I think overall we have a great town and I'm delighted to be from Mitchelstown. My name is Bunty Flynn. I'm a native of Mitchelstown. I am married since 1964.
My name is Shawnee Chamberlain. I was born in Mitchelstown 79 years ago, and I went to school here in Mitchelstown. My people are from the town here back about, I don't know, 300 or 400 years. We came here with the Kingstons.
My name is Margaret Sheehy. I've been all my life, I lived in the town. I was born in Upper Cork Street. I spent all my life here. I met my husband here.
My name is Mary Meany and I'm from Ardwell in Mitchelstown and I'm 53. I have 3 children and an erotic dog and 2 cats.
My name is Kathleen Griffin. I lived all my life here in Mitchelstown. I was born in James Street, as my husband was born in James Street as well. I worked in Barry's shop.
My name is Verling Fitzgerald and I'm a fireman here in Mitchelstown, County Cork. I've been in the fire service for 25 years and I've enjoyed every moment of it. I've worked and lived here all my life. It's a great town. I'm just happy to stay here.
My name's Arena. I'm 15. I've lived in Mitchelstown since I was born.
My name is Michael Gorman. I'm 15 years old and I live in Mitchelstown all my life.
My name is Justin Chang. I've been living in Ireland for all my life and I'm 15 years old.
My name is Kay Dawson. I've lived in Mitchelstown for the last 33 years.
My name is Bridget Fitzgerald. I'm from out at the neck of the woods of Ballyland, Slimperhane area. I was born in Tipperary. I'm living in Limerick and I'm earning my bread and butter in Mitchelstown, County Cork. So I'm the 3-county woman.
My name is Ina Keating, as I said. I moved to Mitchelstown in 1965 and lived in the square in a flat for a few years. I was married and had a child at the time. And my husband was working in Mitchelstown, and that's how we moved here. And the flat we were in was facing out onto the square, and we could see everything happening in the town.
My name is Felix Welch. I was born in West Limerick. I live in the Mitchelstown area. I live 4 miles out the road since 1971.
I'm Shane. I've been living in Mitchelstown for the past 3 years.
My name's Jacob. I've moved to Mitchelstown when I was about 4. I've been living here about 10 years now.
My name is Johnny Mack. I'm from Argyll, just outside Mitchelstown, about 20 minutes away. I'm a local amateur DJ and I compete for Ireland in karate.
My name is David Morrissey. I'm 18.
I'm Jamie O'Flaherty. I'm a journalist with the Avondale newspaper. I'm a Clonmel native and I've been working here I think about 16 months now.
My name is Ben Lynch. I was born in Feenet outside Tralee, County Kerry, and I'm still a proud Kerryman. I've been married to Maeve since 1975. I've made Mitchelstown my home since 1994 and have become involved in a lot of projects here. In the meantime, I've been involved with the Business Association, Board of Management in schools, stuff like that, Special Olympics, an Enterprise Centre, Musical Society, and of course Mitchelstown Leisure Centre.
John Hennessy is my name anyway.
My name is Claudia and I've got a business in Mitchelstown.
My name is Justin Finn. I'm 30 years of age. I own Jay's Bar in Mitchelstown.
My name is Tony Gorry. I'm a tattooist at Shamrock Inc. I'm a singer with Mind Right MT. Been playing music since '92 with the band. Married with 2 kids.
My name is Una Fitzgerald and I am married to Tim. We have 1 son, Jack, and I have been here in Flowers by Una for 30 years.
My own name is Sadie Allen. I work as a community worker with one of the local development companies here at Ballyhare Development.
I go to school in Mitchelstown and there's 3 schools in Mitchelstown. So there's a boys one, a girls one and there's a mixed one.
Hobbies are playing the Xbox at home, walking around the town with my friends, no sports.
I play with a soccer club called Park United, under 15s.
Edinburgh was a lot bigger. It's a proper city, so like I used to go mountain biking, BMX biking over in Edinburgh and stuff. There's not much here.
I'm part of the business associations.
Grew up doing sports, playing music. I'm a DJ. So this kind of, I enjoy a lot of music and have a degree in business event management.
We're strict enough with age and we're strict with
design and things like that, and it's a custom tattoo shop. We draw it, we tattoo it.
I've been in Mitchelstown 18 years, and my role, I suppose, is I'm a community guard. So community guard would basically be, I suppose we're all community guards here in Mitchelstown. Part of our role would be, I suppose, calling to all the people in the town, and I suppose one of the things that I do is call to the national schools in particular, and it's part of the schools programme. And I suppose we're kind of getting more into calling to secondary schools now. So we're calling to secondary schools and do some programmes about internet safety and bullying and that kind of thing.
I've been away in different places. I was in Australia, I was in different places, but I'd always want to go home.
I haven't a wonderful story to tell you as to why I came to Mitchelstown, other than it was the price of a house at the time.
We were living in London, our oldest child was born. I didn't want to give the rest of our life there. And I was looking for something to come home to, and a bit of property came up that suited. And that's how I ended up here.
My father was a baker, so in 1957, to make sure I'd never be a baker, I cleared off to London. I came back about 20 years later, and we bought a bakery. And I've been doing that since.
I went back to UL as a mature student. I'm doing journalism and new media. And then to put food on the table, I do part-time caring.
Neither of us worked in Mitchelstown, and as a way to engage in the community, I got involved in different organisations in the town at the time.
We make a bit of bread, we supply local shops on a more limited basis now, because I'm not as active as I was. So I just make enough bread to cope with the expense of my social life.
We actually started our own teenage discos and kind of ran them up until I was about 25, and I started them when I was 13 years of age.
Mitchelstown was very good to me. I got a job when I badly needed it in the creamery.
I had several jobs in London, but I was a musician most of the time. And after about, 18 or 19 years, I was kind of bothered my mother and father were getting old, so I thought I'll go back and we'll be there for them. And because actually I remember when I was living in London and my dad was 65, I said, "Dad, give up that bakery now, you've enough of it done." And then he was 70, I said, "Dad, it's time to pack in that bakery, for goodness sake." And then when we bought the bakery down the street, and Dad was 77 or something like that, "Dad, get your ass down here, we want to."
With the business association, our aim is to unite all the businesses and get activities going in the town so that the town is active in this stuff going on. Example, at Christmas we organised the turning on of the lights. We fundraised 2 years ago to get new lights for the town, and everybody jumped on board.
First memories, I suppose, are from James Street, playing in the street with all the other kids. There was maybe 5, 6 kids in every house at that stage. So we had enough of children in the street. We need never go outside the street, because we had enough to play with there.
Nobody had money, nobody had cars, but we had such freedom. Compared to my children now, they have no freedom. We were just out in the fields, climbing trees, and the only thing came back was hunger.
My first memory was when we came into Mitchelstown first, as I say, was about 7, and I being allowed with my aunt, who came visiting, to the Star Cinema. And I didn't realise that the seat came down, that you pulled it down and sat on it. So I perched up on the back of the seat very uncomfortably, and my aunt pulled it down. And there were girls from the school behind. They were laughing and tittering, and I was so embarrassed. I really thought I had to stay up there for the duration of the film.
We'd be playing picky. We'd have skipping ropes. We'd play hunt.
There was one film which was called, I think, The Five-Finger Beast or something. And I wasn't allowed to go to the film that day. We weren't allowed to go to the matinee. The nuns wouldn't allow it in school. You'd be punished if you put your hand up and said you had been to the cinema. So this was a horror film, I think, and there was a hand that crept around and played the piano. And I wasn't allowed to go, but I sneaked to the cinema, and I couldn't sleep for weeks, or certainly it sounded like weeks, with this fear that when my father would have the radio on, I'd hear a piano, I thought the beast was coming along the floor.
We lived in Upper Cork Street, and when there'd be a fair day on,
they'd have the cattle or whatever, they'd have sheep, and they'd have them in pens all up along Upper Cork Street. And my biggest memory was my mother trying to wash the muck away that evening when they'd go.
And the cows and the sheep being tied tied onto railings, and then the whole place would be hosed down when they were finished in the evenings. And it was a great excitement, all right, but it was very farmyard-like.
There's a housing estate now just above where the Protestant church is, and just be a field there. And the man used to keep, we'll say Jimmy Sage was his name, he used to keep the cows there. And he'd bring the cows down James Street. He'd cross them below at the bottom of the hill, straight across the main street and into the milking parlour. I mean, you wouldn't see that now. You know, cows to walk straight down the street like.
My memories are of the local band. Our family were always involved with the band, and they operated from down the street from my place. And I suppose going to school, we were always going to old football matches and hurling matches, and I suppose going to school then, to me, there was a regime of terror, because I didn't care for school very much, but I survived it.
My earliest memories of Mitchelstown are fantastic memories of going to CBS school, the Christian Brothers School in Mitchelstown, where I was excellently taught by the Christian Brothers and the lay staff at the time. I have great memories of it. I loved it. And the bus system was very irregular, so I actually did cycle to school.
The convent above the schools, Holy Communion.
Then there were cowboy films, and there was one boy from Mitchelstown, and he used to bring in a cap gun, and he would, when the cowboys would be fighting the Indians, he would crouch down behind the seat and he'd go pew, 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 like this, and there'd be a smell of sulphur in the cinema. And then there was a beam where the film, it was just magical.
When we were watching television at home, the television would go a bit foggy at times, and we knew then there was going to be a call, the siren was going to go off, because whatever way the transmitter was next door to us, the transmitter used to probably hit the signal of the TV, and whatever happens, you know, we knew there was a fire call, and about a minute later the siren would go off.
Neighbours were neighbours. When we were younger, like every door in every house was opened, you could run in and out to anybody's house.
My job is to go to my neighbours looking for tea bags, and then they'd come to me looking for firelighters. So that's gone, you know, but I used to love that, is the community, the connectedness.
I went to school in Ballindangan until I was 7, and when I came to Mitchelstown, it was the first time I saw a nun, and I thought they were the most extraordinary creatures. And they had long dresses and white wimple thing around there and a veil, and they only had a tiny bit of their faces showing. And we only had the girls' toilets, and they never went to the toilet in the girls' school, so I assumed they never went to the toilet. And I thought that they had no legs, that they had casters for feet, because they just glided along with long rosary beads down practically to the ground and a belt. And they were not quite as angelic, all of them, all the time, as they looked.
Lonely, I'd say, if you ask me, to be honest, as to my first impressions of Mitchelstown, I can remember going down, the Tartan existed at the time in Mitchelstown. It was a coffee shop, cream buns. And I used to go down and sit there and hope someone would talk to me. So it did, I think if the voluntary sector didn't exist, I would have found it very hard to engage at any level and to make friends.
From the first time going on the beat downtown, it's a very, very friendly town, very nice people in it.
We do shopping on a Thursday or that, and we come to Mitchelstown fairly regular, like, you know, especially for Fanahan's Day, we'd come and visit the well.
We were coming to the Matlan go with my father, the lot of mess, and we were from the farming community, and we saw us come up of a Thursday, and it was a great day in town.
I first passed through Mitchelstown in 1968. I never thought I'd be living here. I think there would have been less than 6 cars on the street. There was donkeys, ponies, horses, tied to the poles with a few churns and cats and every description. And They brought in the milk in below into what's called the Central that time. And then sometime in the 70s, the bulk tank came, and eventually the pony and the donkey, that were all brushed aside.
Every Sunday, because we lived out in the country, we weren't ever in the town. We went to school in the country, and we're coming through Mitchelstown, visiting my grandparents, and we'd stop at a little shop at the top of the town, and it was called Nelly and Jerry's, and we'd get a little ice cream there. That was our weekly treat.
My earliest memories would be of the square with cobblestones in it, and it wasn't anywhere developed.
I remember the time we had a pub in the shop, and there was times, we'll say, when people would come in, we'd give them the biscuits. They were all loose biscuits. We'd fill the bag.
There was another shop at the end of the street, and it was called Danjo Lines's, and that's where all the treats and the sweet, the Christmas fair and everything, it's where the little men with the guys used to come down the chimney at Christmas used to appear, and that was the one time of the year we saw toys.
They had great respect for education, those people, so they thought I'd get a job at the civil service and be there for 50 years, and after that get a pension for life. But I had other ideas. The minute I left school, I was across to London. I'm out of here.
I went to school here, then I studied, and then I went to London, and then I came back. So after I came back, after being gone for 16 years, it was a very vibrant town. It's a very friendly town.
We went to the seaside with my mother. They all went to the pub, so literally I saw the seaside in the back of the bus. You know, we never went to the seaside. You know, the mothers had great crack in the bus, like. So that was our one-day holiday.
We had a boys' club here, and 2 nights a week, and you could take part in any kinds of activities like basketball or boxing or stuff like that. I had 2 boxing matches, I lasted 2 of them, so I'm not that kind of a person. My first night in the boxing ring, this was after a little bit of tuition. My first night in the boxing ring, this fella gave me a slap into the nose and I said, what did you do that for?
We didn't have any playgrounds, we didn't have really anything really, so we had to make our own fun, which got us in a bit of trouble sometimes, but it was innocent fun and we did a good time doing it.
They had a glass, you break the glass and the siren goes off instead of the button. And one day anyway, I was hitting a ball and hitting a tennis ball, and whatever way it hit the glass and broke the glass, and next thing the siren went off, I ran for my life. I got an awful fright, and I went down, I told my mother, and she said, it's all right, look, you can tell him that it was an accident, you know. So I went up to him anyway with my mother and I told him, sorry, it was me, and they said, it's fine lads, it's fine, we get paid for it anyway, it's fine, they said.
There'll be 2 ballrooms here. They're closed now because I suppose the likes of the Clongibbon House and some other places, they have disco dancing, which is like dancing for the deaf.
I suppose what really struck me was the efforts from all the different community groups in the town.
When the playground was built, it was built when I was in play school and it was sponsored by the town as well. So that was really like, it was a big thing because like the children had nowhere to go before that. They'd have to go somewhere else to like find a playground. So it was a big thing at the time because it's straight across from the school as well. So all the children love going over.
My earliest memories of Mitchelstown was when I was younger, going after school, going to the big park up across from the school. My earliest memories in Mitchelstown is just hanging around with my friends and just playing soccer, kicking the ball around.
My earliest memories are as a baby at home. Lived here all my life, so strolling around the house, around the terrace.
Going into the market with my mother when I was in primary school, like juniors, seniors, ever since.
And then I made a couple of friends in school, so then started coming into town. Not much to do that.
As I got into secondary school, I got to know more people in it and like what the actual town was and more stuff in the town.
Because I'm more of an outdoor person, so I never am inside. So I wanted to explore at the start, see what town looked like and everything. Got to know it in a week.
Even after I got too old to go to teenage discos, I felt that there was still very little out there for kids to do. It was after kind of when I was about 23, 24 that there was a EU cafe actually set up. The leisure centre and CDYS where people can go and do stuff and just whatever they want, like stay off the streets.
Nah, the leisure centre was just getting built when I arrived, so there wasn't really much to do at the start.
In the mid-90s, Mitchelstown was exceptional in that it had full employment and it was a thriving town at the time. I'd moved here from Waterford, which was at the opposite end of the spectrum, losing jobs a lot at the time. I suppose the second point that hit me early on was that it's a border town location. Instead of identifying with one county, you identify with 3 here, with as many addresses in Tipperary or Limerick as you do in Cork.
When we were young, we could walk at any time of the night. When we went to the Mayflower to the dances, we could walk home 2 o'clock in the morning, quite safe.
When I was a child, it was unheard of that we drank indoors. But now they knew going out is staying in. That's, you know, it was always, when my mother and father, they'd go to the pub early. But now it's completely reverse, people go to the pub late.
We had a swimming pool here in Mitchelstown and a cinema, so we had plenty of activity to do when we were younger, getting the school holidays, going down to the swimming pool every day for the whole summer, which was great. We really enjoyed that. We all learned to swim down there. It was a great place to be, meeting all our friends, and the fact that my mother was a caretaker there. I used to be getting in free every day for a swim. I got free swims every day, and I really enjoyed it down there. Unfortunately, it's closed down with the last 20 years, and there is no swimming pool here now in town, or no cinema.
When I went to London first, Mitchelstown was the envy of most parts of Ireland because of the creamery and the cheese factory. Everybody in Mitchelstown had a job. And I knew people from the west of Ireland and places where there was no work. But from the time I came back then, the Galtee Baking Factory was flying, the town was flying. And then when that closed, there was a kind of a downturn in local life.
Like Mitchelstown survived the recession in the 70s because it had full employment. And then we hit, ever before when people talk about the recession that we hit in 2011, Mitchelstown hit that well ahead of that when Galtee went. And we lost hundreds of jobs in the space of months.
The closing of Galtee factory probably would have been one of the major changes that I would have seen because of the volume it brought into town, the business it brought to town. Every Friday people coming to town to spend their wages.
I was made redundant after 14 years there. I had a great time there. Met lots of people. It was a steady employment, and it kept me in the town.
There was a lot of young people working there, and there was a lot of young people who were able to get summer jobs.
You can imagine them coming out in the evening or going in the morning, and they're coming up to town and they spend the money, whether it was a haircut or going into the chemist or going down for a paper or a bottle of milk or your lunch or your sandwich or your famous breakfast roll.
Lots of people coming from the surrounding villages and that, working here. And there was plenty of money circulating.
It was great when the creamery and baking factory were there because there was great employment. It's not so good now. I think we need a major industry of some sort or another.
The corner shops are the one thing that changed. I mean, every second corner had a shop. We didn't have Aldi, we didn't have Lidl, we didn't have Tesco. So I suppose there isn't room for everyone. Small shop had to go.
Shops going and pubs going and restaurants going, and it's a pity.
There was an awful lot of shops had pubs as well. They'd have the shop in the front of the building and the pub would be at the back, you know. But most of them they're gone now. But the Co-op made big changes in the town as well when they opened their shop and that.
Then there was a horrendous period in Mitchelstown where we were named one of the dirtiest towns in Ireland. And I was part of the committee that formed the Tidy Towns group at that time. And I think we must be in existence 25 years at this stage.
I was secretary of Aroma for a number of years, yeah. And there's great community spirit there. They do all the flowers around town, and water them and all of that.
All the streets are looking well. There are no derelict houses much around anymore. And the town looks well.
The look of the town seems to have improved a hell of a lot. Over the last probably 4 to 5 years, with the Mitchelstown Business Association kind of taking more on to make sure that there's more businesses in the town.
There were probably twice as many pubs in the town then as there are now. Traffic was chaotic with the main Cork-Dublin road going right through the main street. During the time, of course, there was a lot of job losses, particularly, I suppose, Kelty Foods and other big events in the rationalisation of Dairy World.
So the people had to rely on themselves to find ways of upskilling. I'd have to acknowledge Ballyhoward would have done a lot of work because it's a development company in the area, but they also put on a lot of courses and that give people that breathing space of what do I do now, what's my worth, you know. And especially if you're in your 50s, you kind of think, who's going to employ me? Where am I going to find? But a few of them would have gone out in business on their own, and they're still going today. And others would have secured employment, maybe not necessarily in Mitchelstown anymore, and that probably led us to being more a commuter town than we had been traditionally.
One time, if a person got a job in Mitchelstown, they'd come and live in the town. Now they can come from Kerr or Cork or wherever. So it's only 20 minutes, half an hour away.
The Enterprise Centre is one that's open. It was bought here by a company, a charity, a not-for-profit organisation that bought the building, are supporting enterprise development up there.
There have been a few landmark buildings with like Living Health and where we are at the moment in the leisure centre.
We've had other companies coming into the town like Aldi, and Kerrygold now as well. They've just come into the town there in the last few years.
The business people in Mitchelstown were patient and they stuck in there and they dug deep and things are back again now.
When I first started, there was a lot of projects that were here, but there wasn't a connectiveness with them. But I can see a big change in Mitchelstown where the communities have come together.
We tried every way to get a youth worker and to get different things, and nothing was going to happen. And then we decided, you know what, we'll rent a premises and we'll start and we'll just make it happen, and then we'll prove that the need really exists. And there was times when we had 80, 90 members in the youth cafe. Because
we had nothing else to do. We'd be kicking football in the street or hurling or whatever it was. But now there is so much available for teenagers. And yes, they say they're bored, but I think it's more a state of mind than anything else. Because they spend so much time on their phones that they can't think to do anything else, or even talk to their friends, or listen to bullshitter like me.
There's a lot of more things for the youth now than there would be before. Like in Forest Hall, there's like CDYS, that's a youth place that people can go.
It's changed quite a bit. Like the leisure centre is open now, so people can actually do something during the daytime.
There's new few stuff like the leisure centre, CDYS, and there's a lot of other stuff too, yeah.
Especially as you get older, if you engage with younger people, they'll keep you young and they'll keep you on your toes. Now, I'm sure they thought I was like that granny up there, but I'd definitely say that it was great fun.
There seems to be a lot more for the youth side of stuff. Also, the nightlife for kind of my age group seems to have gotten that bit better as well.
I suppose I'm driven more on passion for delivery of service than I am on what I consider a lot of the time the nonsense of politics. I think if you keep focused on goals, and your goal should always be towards the delivery of a service for people.
When I come in from Fermoy and I see the Gelties, you know, that feeling of being in love, and I say, I'm coming home. I love that. There is something magical about the Gelties. And I love about Mitchelstown. If I go for a walk around the ring, it could be hi Mary, and I'd be 22 hours going around the ring, you know. I love that feeling of home.
It's a planned town, first of all. The layout of it is a planned town. And I suppose that's not everywhere like.
We're a gateway to the Galties now, like a lot of recreational things that happen in the Galties. A lot of climbing goes on up there, a lot of walks, nature walks. So We also have, in the area, we have the Mitchelstown Caves.
You get that sense of history and heritage just by walking into the square. You see the John Mandeville statue there, it hits you immediately.
We have 2 wonderful squares, we have the Georgian houses, and I suppose the strongest thing of all is we have wonderful people.
A fine rural country, vibrant town.
You think of John Mandeville and you always think of the Gelties and you think of Mitchelstown.
We have the ice house, we'll say, which I suppose is not open to the public.
Well, I'm sure the community was always there. Everybody helped each other and they helped their neighbours. That's kind of gone a bit, but we have a good community council. We have good things happening in the town all the time.
The community spirit in Mitchelstown is terrific.
Again, I'd say it's probably the people and the diversity of the people. I suppose you could say it is a multicultural town.
We have a lot more culture in here, which is good. It's good to meet different cultures.
There is a lot of organisations which help people, and especially the older people.
The different volunteer groups coming together, working and striving for a better Mitchelstown.
But it's kind of comfortable. I have a Down syndrome daughter now who works a day in our shop, and she works in Super Value, and she goes to college in Fermoy. And the town is very safe for her. She can walk around the town, everybody looks after her.
It's something that the Heritage Society are working hard to promote all the different historical buildings and everything else that are in the town.
I'm very involved with the local musical society, and that occupies half the year for us.
You have Park United, you have the GA, which keeps young people going.
Between rugby, football, hurling, athletics.
We had 15 different clubs, football, hurling, rugby clubs, using this place over the weekend. Now, over the earlier part of the year for training purposes, because with the all-weather pitches, it's an ideal venue for winter training. And that's everything from under 6s or 8s up to adults. And I mean, you also get groups of 40-something like playing their 5-a-side football. So there is a huge overlap, and that's the way we want it. But it's also for people who are not necessarily involved in clubs or active in sports. There are other things that people can do. We do classes for everybody from the early teens, the people with special needs, right up to people who have given up sport a long time ago and want to get back into exercise.
Outside of the sports, there's a lot of people doing drama, which is great, and other things like we had brilliant summer camps this year. Our notice board below in Sintra was undated with all the summer camps.
I was part of the local brass band, which stretches back nearly 200 years now at this stage. Well, all my folks, my father and his father, were always in the band, and I'm still involved with the music. I conduct the local brass band now, and most people, and we've had little dance bands in the meantime, but because of the age that I am, the type of music that I'd be playing would be only for old folks' parties. I don't even get invited to them anymore.
My father came from the Glen of Arlo, and all his family would come up on Valentine's Day, and they'd cycle up to Mitchelstown from Arlo, and they'd park their bicycles and they'd go down the well and they'd visit the relations, and they used to be dancing and things, at night, but it's not, religion doesn't come into it as much as it did then.
Coming to town for Valentine's Day, it used to be such a big day in town, and the amusements would be there, and you couldn't imagine the crowd that would be walking from the town up to the amusements and that, It was such people came because it was the day, it was their local pattern day, we'll say.
I wouldn't be as interested in going down there, but I would go down there sometimes. Like, even our school would take us on trips down there for like religion classes and stuff, and it is quite interesting to hear about St. Fanahan and stuff like that. And like the well it's really small, but there's like stories told about it that if you drink the water, it'll help keep you healthy and stuff.
You have to go with the times. If you have a religion, you have religion. If you haven't, you haven't. That's the way it is.
We have a lovely, lovely new library that's there with a couple of years now. and it is growing again, and it is great to see that.
The credit union is another very strong part of the culture of Mitchelstown, and that has been a great benefit to the town through the years. I would have seen that, especially when we would have got married, and maybe it would have been very difficult to get money from banks. If the credit union, it was very personal, they knew you, they knew that you would repay the debt, and that was a great strength in the community as well.
You have the Mitchelstown Forum who identify new initiatives for the town, and they promote the town as a centre for commercial and industrial development, and that really impressed me. There's the Mitchelstown Community Council who work for the care and maintenance of the Mitchelstown area as a whole. You have the Heritage Society who they promote local history and they protect the town's heritage. You have Aroma who they, I suppose, put together the whole Tidy Towns initiative each year, and they have the town looking fantastic, in great shape all year round. And now you have the Mitchelstown Business Association, and they support all the different local businesses around the town. So I think collectively you would have probably maybe 100 or so different volunteers working for the betterment of Mitchelstown.
We went forward to the Cork County Council to become an age-friendly community so that we could make our community welcoming and accessible for older people in the community.
The Thursday market is kind of, in its own way, a bit unique. The other thing that struck me, I suppose, over the years has been the families that have been here for generations with little enough movement, and I suppose some of them have been here for centuries. Also, one of the most, the nicest characteristics is that there are very few airs and graces in Mitchelstown. If you're not prepared to have yourself slagged off, you've no place in Mitchelstown. And of course, from my perspective, the banter in Todd's Bar is second to none.
I go to Todd's Bar every night at 6 o'clock, and I have 3 or 4 pints of Murphy's there, and we talk rubbish with the guys that are there. And we're there every night, and we say the same things every night because we can't remember what we said the previous nights. So it's fabulous.
Older people said if they were widowed or single, that it's very difficult to go on activities when they don't have a partner. So that's why we started to go to the cinema together and set up the social hub.
There's a youth cafe, they do great work down there, and you know, there's recreational sports. There's a new leisure centre here in Mitchelstown as well.
We also have probably one of the biggest milk distribution companies in Ireland, in Mitchelstown, Dairy Gold.
Well, for anyone that's inclined to do anything, there's plenty of activities. I've had people saying there's nothing. There's nothing if you want to do nothing.
Anybody who wants to do anything, they can organise their own dancing or their own night activities, and there's loads of night activities here. I cannot understand people saying to me that they're bored.
If you're not always downtown and stuff, like 24/7, then there's a fair bit to do. But if you're around a lot, then like I'm always around with the boys and we find it boring.
Like if it's raining, there's nothing to do. But if it's sunny or something like we had there a few weeks ago, you could go swimming out at White Bridge, or you could just walk around town and go to the well or something.
I think the most interesting thing about Mitchelstown is there's a lot of history to it. Like wherever you go, there'll be a sign saying that there's history about something, or there's statues of John Mandeville in the square.
I like to see that intergenerational project where there's older people and younger people coming together. Younger people have so much to give to older people, and older people have so much to give to younger people. But it's about bringing the two sides together and to, I suppose, say to people that you do have a skill that you can share. So I saw a huge value in that for the younger people and for the older people.
Some years ago we put an outreach programme into place whereby we try to embrace the needs of our community, whether it is social, recreational, educational, or indeed in any way possible that we can help our community.
Bakeries, local butchers, we've got fashion, food, and we've got the hotels, there's cafes, beauticians. I mean, there's loads of hairdressers and beauticians, which shows that there is a demand for it. There's loads of new businesses opening as well, younger people, which is great to see.
It's a bit different. Here they're more, you say hello to almost everyone, but back there you just don't need the people you'd know.
It's always like positive if you see somebody. Everyone will like greet you and say hello, and everyone kind of knows everyone, so if you ever need, like if you ever have a problem or need something, like you can run to across the road or anything, because everyone's really, really nice.
We're kind of a little charming rural town, and if you like that sort of thing, it's grand. Then again, on the other hand, if like me, and when I was a teenager, God, I hated this place.
Personally, I like Kingston College.
We have the wonderful Kingston College, which is a Georgian, the only Georgian square outside of Dublin. It's immaculate, it is beautiful, and it is a hidden gem. People don't know about it.
We have some lovely restaurants, and even like Forest Hall above, things like that, doing some good stuff for the kids.
One of the nicest things about the town is that there's so many small shops, and the personal service is there from the small shops.
And like even the leisure centre, like you can go up there and there's like classes and activities and stuff you can do in there.
There's different clubs around town, like soccer clubs, the MMA trials, and that kind of stuff, like sports.
For me, it'd probably be the White Bridge. I love going up there, or going into Stacks, the barber shop, or up to Jay's for a game of pool or something like that.
Yeah, there's like a gym and stuff, because we didn't have a gym before, so everyone was really happy to see that come in.
It was handy to have CDYS to walk into.
You could just walk inside there and just chill around with your friends or kick a ball around or something, and it's great crack.
Because you can go in, go out the back, play a game of soccer or a game of basketball or something with your friends.
Cooking, baking, there's like pool tables.
If you don't like sports, then there's always an Xbox you could buy. Go in with all your friends and sit down and have a chat, play a session,
We have facilities for any recreation that's required, and we have work for everybody in the place if they want to stay here.
It's a great town, historic town, and I just love to see Mitchelstown forging ahead. And I'm so thrilled to be driving in this morning and seeing so many people arriving in Mitchelstown, especially young people.
The whole town looks very well, even coming into the Independence weekend.
Going back to the mid-90s, there was a small festival on in the square in Mitchelstown. It was the only thing that kept people in the town in the August weekend. It used to be deserted. Now it's the venue for a very, very significant national musical event in this August bank holiday weekend.
You have thousands of people, coming into the town for the weekend, and it's important that they know exactly what's here for them and what's here in terms of all the different variety of entertainment that's happening in the centre of Mitchelstown, not only out of the festival itself.
We do the busking festival. We've got buskers on the street. It's our third year running, so that creates an atmosphere in the town.
We would promote that, and we'd be working closely with the organisers there, just ensuring that everybody's aware of exactly what's happening in Mitchelstown over the weekend. I think sometimes people just see it as a music festival, but there's a whole lot more happening.
10,000 people come into the town every August weekend. So it's great for all the businesses in the town.
It'd be great if you could get more employment in, because the square now has loads of vacant places that could be used. We could definitely do with the Duns and Pennies or Heathens, that'd be great.
There's more that could be done with it. I'd love to see it completely litter free. I'd love to see the cables taken off the street, that we don't have wires over and back.
Oh, some kind of a business or enterprise thing to get started here. We're at the foot of the Galties, there must be something that we could do that would help the town.
There's a lot of them and they've nothing to do. They get their holidays the 1st of June, you could say, and they're not back until nearly the 1st of September. And it is very long for them. So I think there should be something done, maybe a camp for a couple of weeks.
I don't know that we'll ever have the employment that we had in the past, but it's a different way of life. I think lots of towns in other places have the same thing.
The arts aren't very well represented in Mitchelstown. With the Musical Society, and they put on a show once a year. But other than that, and the schools do quite a bit, we'll say, with the Battle of the Bands and that. But we don't have a cinema, we don't have a theatre. So I think that centre and that location has capacity to do an awful lot more, and I would hope going forward, and I know they have great vision, the group involved in that.
It still needs a greater commitment from the community as a whole, particularly to deal with the approaches to the town. An awful lot of work has been done by some people, but I think there's still a bit of buy-in to be got there. I think a properly functioning town park would be of huge benefit to the town, to the entire community, rather than just maybe for specific groups.
It's an attractive town, but I don't think it's promoted enough.
I think it's a very, very scenic town, but there isn't a huge emphasis on tourism here. And I think it's certain that could be improved upon, I think.
I always said if I won the lottery in the morning, I'd build a big factory in Mitchelstown and get it back to us many, many years ago.
I suppose this factory would be the employment, like, would be the best, the best thing for the town, I'd say.
Well, we have a new enterprise centre and they're giving employment. You would see it's near the Fermoy Hotel. They have sort of hot desks there where people come in. If you're starting a business and you can't afford to open your own office, you can go there and set up, and then when you get your feet, you can move on. And that's fully occupied now, I think.
I feel that the areas is our food and our tourism that we could grow on because of our location so close to the Galties and also the Ballyhowers at the other side. We have the Mitchelstown Caves.
There's the playground for the children, and there's like the youth cafe, but there's not much else. Like you can like go into centre and sit down, but there's like not a lot else to do. Like
Because mainly people just sit down in shops and stroll around.
Get everybody more active and involved in things.
I think mainly stuff to do for the youth, because if they've nothing to do, they just kind of hang around the streets, and older people they don't really like people hang around the streets, because in case there's trouble or anything,
We have tremendous communities, great community council, St Vincent de Paul, we have things for that. But I think to get young people involved with the older groups that are there, like the Lions Club is there, but it's all older people are in it, that I think if there was a section where the junior people could get involved and help, because we know that young people they're tremendous for collecting for people in need and that, so I think they need to work more with young people as well.
Jobs for young people as well, that could be improved on, because there's like places to work and stuff, but there's already a lot of people working in them, because Mitchelstown, there's a lot of people in it.
There was people looking for, it was in the avenue for a skate park and stuff, and there's some young people that want that.
You could improve Mitchelstown by maybe having a few skate parks or having a mountain biking track or something.
What I'd like to see in Mitchelstown in the future would probably be like a cinema or a swimming pool, because they're good places to go to socialise, and if you've friends you can say, oh, let's go swimming or let's go to the cinema, because if you want to go to the cinema from Mitchelstown you have to go to Cork, and that's far.
It'd be handy if there was a swimming pool or a skate park or something like that.
To be great to see if we could ever get a possible swimming pool here. I know that there was funding done for it, but the funding just wasn't enough to do it.
There could be more clubs involved and stuff, or even a swimming pool or something.
In Care they have one that and for the summer now they go on trips nearly every day. They go swimming, or they go up to Cork to go air-tastic. They have trips planned every day to go.
Go for it and make demands.
And I tell all the young people that go away and go as far away as you can, and then work your way back, and after 10 years you might have a few bob and a bit of experience and you'll be useful.
Things have changed, we just have to adapt and move on with them.
There's a housing issue in Mitchelstown. It's highlighted regularly at different council meetings that I would attend. And the main issue here is that the sewerage plant is working to capacity, and it's curtailing any major development in the town, and that's something that needs to be addressed.
If all forces galvanised and made the Galties, a central theme, and Mitchelstown, the gateway to there, I think there is potential there, yeah.
It's really important to work together, to be part of an association that works for the best for the town.
Marketing wise, I think it needs to be redeveloped again.
Tourism promotion regarding the castle, Mitchelstown Castle, I think that they need to show what actually it all started from and where it came from.
I would like to see more sports. I would like to see Mitchelstown Rugby do really well, because my kids play in it. I would like to see less drug dealers and more affirmative action with the thugs of the town, which are causing a lot of trouble at the moment, which has been on the local papers.
It's a town that you'll be welcomed in. It's a town that I feel very welcomed in. I feel the support of the people.
My father, Mick Meany, there's going to be a time capsule placed in the square to celebrate his 61 days of breaking the world record for being buried alive. So that's kind of like our little piece of history, you know. So in 61 years, when I'll be dead and gone, and all of you will be still alive, please God, and then my children's children will be able to see a bit of history.
It's really interesting to hear the stories about McMeany, especially because of the things he did. Like, they're wild, really.
Well, I wrote a book about him, so that kind of more immortalised his name, like so.
What's the book called?
You Can't Eat Roses, Mary. People go, why is it called that? But you have to read the book to find out. You know, the answer is right in the middle.
Something like this where most of the funds had to be raised within the community. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it took at least 20 years to get it from idea stage to actually opening the door. We're looking at probably 40,000 people coming through the doors this year, which in a town of 4,000 and maybe a hinterland of 10,000 in total is phenomenal. We're hoping to convert the sports hall where its multi-use can be properly implemented. It's meant to be a community centre, not just a sports centre. The second thing is that at the moment the gym is bursting, so we're hoping to put in planning permission for an expansion. But all these things take money. I mean, between the two of those, it's the bones of €1 million, so it won't happen tomorrow.
It's also good, and it's a great place to live. It really is.
It's a terrific town. I think it's a busy town. I think it's managed to, stay strong during a difficult period.
I think overall we have a great town, and I'm delighted to be from Mitchelstown.
As I went out walking away down by the strand, I spied this young damsel, she was dressed up so grand, in feathers and finery and jewels of gold. Oh, she looked like a damsel of 19 years old. Well, I hugged her and kissed her till she gave her consent, and off to be married the pair of us went. And after our marriage it was home I did stroll, with my beautiful damsel of 19 years old. Now the night of our wedding I lay down to rest, to retire for the night with my fair maid so blessed. And a thrall of wadding from her waist she did fall. Oh, she looked like a cuckoo of 19 years old. Now she took off her eyebrows so fair and so fine. She took out her false teeth and she looked 29. She took off her false wig, her bald head so told, that she looked more like 90 than 19 years old. Now she screwed off her left leg way down from her knee. She took off her fingers, she let on but 3. She took out a glass eye, on the carpet it rolled. Oh, sweet holy Moses, she was 90 years old. So now all you young fellows, when a courting you go, examine the old damsel from her head to her toes. Get married in time, or you'll surely be sold to a bloomin' old damsel of 90 years old.
Yes, Paddy, you take my hat now. So if you don't mind wearing the hat. So we said to Paddy, would he mind wearing the hat? And we said we'd try and have to see if we can hypnotise him some way. But he's not an easy man to hypnotise. So I said, look, we'd try something in it. So we'd put a lighter, just get a lighter going and see, just try and hypnotise him with a bit of fire. And we said, look, Paddy, just think about the first thing that comes into your head. And like I said, no, he's kind of a gas man. So he said, just off the top of your head. So he said he couldn't think of anything, he was completely blank. So I said, look, there's surely something at the top of your head, and that you're surely thinking of that.
Ash, is it?
Is it? Is there something? What was it?
Is there something?
This is what he was thinking about now. He said about something pink anyway he was thinking about for some reason. And God, no, he'd look under the hat anyway, and he was a bit kind of perplexed by what he found in it.
Oh, jeez. Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh.